Uh, the agenda today is DeFi, talking about how DeFi, what is DeFi, and uh, how is it revolutionizing the world of finance, democratizing it. So we have Rohit Goyal, IT Bombay grad, uh, founder of Pax Play, Sabjiwala, co-founder Mudrex, and now is building Mesh Finance, which is a DeFi protocol, and JediSwap by Mesh. Welcome, Rohit.
Thanks a lot, Pranjal.
So, Rohit, what are your, how do you start this? How do you start talking about DeFi?
Yeah, so I guess first of all, what DeFi means, the full form is decentralized finance. Some people call it distributed finance, some people call it open finance. But the idea is pretty simple, like to understand DeFi, decentralized finance, first you need to understand finance. What is finance? So finance help people or humans coordinate. How it does that? So let's say like everyone work for a company, and if you work for a company, you get paid in your local currency, which can be dollars, it could be rupees. So that currency is enabling you to work for some high level mission, which is defined by a company, but you are contributing as an individual. And that finance, like that salary, is enabling us to believe in each other and basically enabling us to work together. That's what finance does. Finance enables human coordination. Now, when you talk about finance, you start from stacks. So the first stack comes as the currency itself. So almost every nation states or most of the nation states have their own currency. For United States, it's dollar. For India, it's INR or rupees. Similarly, like almost Singapore has Singaporean dollar, Japan has their own currency. So all the states have their own, all the nations have their own currencies, especially the strongest ones. Now, what happens is imagine all the coordination between humans is happening because of finance. But that finance, and the biggest part of that finance is the currency itself. And that currency is controlled by few people. So most, more often than not, like almost every nation state's currency, local currency, is governed by either governments or their central banks. And ultimately, governments or central banks are institutions. Like you can consider them as simple as a company. And in any company, there is a hierarchical system. There will be like a founder or a CEO who have more voting power than there are like employees who have lesser voting power. So if you think from power perspective, like ultimately how a central bank governs or how they can change the characteristics of their currency, the decision is in the hands of top 10 people. Imagine this scenario. Like you are trying to solve a problem for whole humanity, but the biggest power you are given it to the 10 people. Now, on a day-to-day of our life, like we don't see it in that way. How it impacts on a larger scale is, for an example, COVID happens. So like these 10 people decide we are going to print more money. Why they are deciding that is like because they want to give money to people who lost their jobs. So it's a good cause. It's not for the bad cause. But what it does, let's say in the whole system, right now there was just $100,000 or 100,000 rupees. And suddenly you printed 10,000 rupees more or $10,000 more. So suddenly like there is 10% increase in supply. But resources which was into this system, let's say there was a in terms of resources, there were rice into this system. So you didn't increase the rice. Rice was still the same. Quantity of rice was still the same. And as a result, demand of rice was still the same. So what will happen? Like you will now like to pay more for that to purchase the same amount of rice. So this turned into inflation. This is called inflation. And this is what we have been seeing in the last few years since COVID happened. Like almost every geography is in a huge crisis of currency or inflation. So like few people started thinking about this problem, like this is a big problem. And because of this, market crashes happens, which happened in 2008 as well. When you think about the currency layer on top of that, then you start thinking about banks. where the objective of bank is to help people store their currencies, to help them invest, and also distribute the currency. Like when currency started emerging, it used to be physical form of currency. Like we all evolved from paper currency. So like to distribute it in the hands of people, you needed to be physically present in let's say in all the villages or all the cities. Because of this, all these private banks emerged. Because like you needed to have branches. How will you distribute currency to someone like who is sitting in a north village of India, north part of the India? So you have to have a branch there who can distribute this currency in the hands of the people. So that's how like all the private banking started happening. And as a result, like now, since you have some, let's say some wealth in form of currency, you basically keep it with a bank. Now, when you keep it with the bank, again, banks has the power of what they can do with this capital, which is in their system. So they can lend it to someone to make money out of it. So again, banks are institutions, right? And when, again, we go to the same concept. If there are institutions, there is, again, power concentration. So these people can decide how do we want to use this money. So even though money was yours, I can still like do a bad loan to someone. And that's how like a lot of loan scams happen in India as well. Like we have given bad loans. And this is how corruption also starts. Since you have the power and you have large amount of capital, imagine like you are someone as a decision maker who is running a bank which has $100 million in account. And somebody comes and large corporation comes and asks for $10 million loan. And they bribe you, okay, like if you give me $10 million loan, I'll give you $100,000 in bribe or something like that. So that's how bad loans can happen. And ultimately what happens when these people default on their loans, it was ultimately users' money who end up losing their capital. Similarly, like this was one layer of finance. Similarly, another layer of finance is trade, exchange. Like you have one thing and you want another thing. So Bombay Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, these all platforms enable exchange between different assets. Again, if you think about it, what is happening is these are the people who are matching two parties. One, people who want to buy, second, people who want to sell. Now, these people know in advance who want to buy, who want to sell. So they have information arbitrage, which is not available with everyone. So they can sell this information to someone. They can leak your information before it gets public. And because of that, there can be huge catastrophic events sometimes, or it can be in disadvantageous state to a normal user. That is what happens with any high frequency trading infrastructure, if people are familiar with that. This is what happens with Robinhood as well. Like Robinhood is a platform which says that you can trade freely, but ultimately it is selling your data. Similarly, payments is another thing. Like today you use Paytm or Google Pay or all these applications to pay for things. Sometimes your transaction gets stuck. You need to reach out to the support. Most of the times queries get resolved, but sometimes it might not, and you end up losing money. So some people started thinking about this, like this is a huge problem. This whole finance stack is currently centralized. Can we like recreate it in a way where few people does not have control? You can have surety whenever you want to do something. You can have surety, like if I have these funds, I will not lose control of these funds. If I'm trying to exchange this thing, it will always get executed. So the first idea of decentralized finance started with the decentralized currency. And the first decentralized currency which became popular was Bitcoin, which basically changed the system in which transactions are recorded. You do not rely on one institution to get your transaction recorded. You do not rely on one institution to store your wealth. You can store it with yourself. So to draw a parallel, like think about paper money. If you have $100 in paper currency, you can keep it in your wallet. You are not keeping it with a bank. So whenever you give it to someone, there is a finality, like, you know, okay, I gave it to someone and that person also get confirmation, okay, I got $100. But when you do it in the digital way, like you first have to ask a bank, okay, like there is this much money in my bank account. Can you send it from my account to Pranjal's account? So there is a third party getting involved. So Bitcoin was basically a digital way of transacting, just like you were transacting a physical dollar rupee or dollar currency or a physical rupee note. And that's how like the first idea of decentralized finance started. So once you started the decentralized currency, the next stake was the banks, the private banks. In the previous world, these private banks were playing the part of distributing the currency. But since now the currency is digital, you do not need any physical presence. So that removes one hurdle out of the way. Second, today, like let's say you have an account at HDFC Bank or Wells Fargo Bank, all they are doing is like they are managing a database entry in their database that Pranjal has $100,000 or 100,000 rupees in his bank account. Ultimately, the money is somewhere, like it's just a database entry. So with wallets, decentralized wallet like MetaMask, for an example, it enables you to store your currency within your wallet, just like how you were storing paper currency in your wallet. It's just a digital wallet. So this evolved like another concept, how you can store your capital. The second use case then started popping up once Bitcoin came into the picture was trading. Like a lot of people use Bitcoin mainly for trading. And if you wanted to trade, you needed an exchange. Because of this, again, centralized exchanges started coming into the picture. Like Mt. Gox was one of the first exchange, which was pretty popular, which used to have like 70 to 80% market share of Bitcoin trading volume till 2014. So for any centralized exchange to trade, you first need to send your Bitcoin to that exchange. So again, you are basically giving your money to someone, some institutions where again, there is power concentration, where again, there is centralization. So people started solving this problem by creating decentralized exchange. And one of the first decentralized exchange was Uniswap. So that started the exchange stack. Similarly, another problem with the bank was that bank were lending money to give you interest. So there were two problems with that, as we discussed. One, banks can do bad loans because the decision is taken by a human. And the second, like if bank is getting 5%, they are passing you 3%, 2% is with them. So then we started creating decentralized lending and borrowing protocols, which were like peer-to-peer way of matching borrowers and lenders. And that's how you started creating the decentralized lending and borrowing. So this is how the evolution of DeFi started. And you can now think about the same stack. Now we will start thinking about fintech applications. Like Paytm is one of the fintech application in India, which uses banks on the base layer. Similarly, there are going to be new kind of Paytms, which will be built on these decentralized bank as stack. And this is how like the DeFi is shaping the future with a very new way of finance.
Cool, Rohit, cool. So, we've heard the stories of Venezuela, how the Venezuela Bolivar, went, and recently Lira going down, down and down. People buy iPhones to hedge against currencies because that seems more reliable asset in a longer term. So, Rohit, so a basic question, am I right by saying that Bitcoin was founded to enable DeFi?
Yes, but you can pretty much say Bitcoin was the first decentralized finance application.
Okay.
And the use case was currency, just like what use case INR solves is like transaction. This is what Bitcoin solves.
Cool. So, it all sounds, very good, people controlling their money, a peer-to-peer system where we exchange. But do you think it is practical and scalable actually where a large population of the world is not still exposed to technology? They still don't understand systems. And there are countries which people can't read, international languages. Is it possible for such a system to come and replace banks and central banks where people can place their trust, reliability at a certain level? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think very simple model to understand this is look at the newer generation, look at what college kids are doing today. Like, don't look at people like me who is like 30-year-old or people who are 50-year-old or anything like that, who are used to of a system. Look at people who are not into the existing system till now. Which system will these people use? These are like digital native generations. Like they use Instagram, they just use digital mediums. They never even probably experienced physical form of currency. Then they might not even have experience going to a bank, to a physical branch of a bank. For these people, like these digital native currencies will be the native experiences. So these will be the first adopters. And if you will look at the demographic of crypto, you will find like it's basically the Gen Zs who are using these crypto platforms, like not just like investing into Bitcoin or something, but like actually using these decentralized platforms. Ultimately, like these people will become the future, right? So with that, you can say like this is going to be the future. This does not mean like every 50-year old person today is going to use cryptocurrency. Maybe that will not happen, but the newer generation will move to this new financial ecosystem.
Cool. So let's say it's 15 to 20 years when we, start getting our salaries in our DeFi wallet.
Exactly. And like, again, this won't happen overnight. We can always look up at trends. If you look at how many people had MetaMask, which is basically a wallet, how many people were using MetaMask 1 year back, and how many people are using MetaMask today, it's 10x or probably more than that. So that shows you the trends, and that trend is going to go stronger and stronger. So another way like people communicate that is like crypto is where internet was in 1990s. It roughly has the same number of users. And just like even for smartphones, like my parents still are not that comfortable with smartphones. So they were the last people who actually got adopted with smartphones. It were like people who were in college when smartphones came, they were the first generation, I think, who started using smartphones. So it's again the same phenomena, which is going to repeat.
Yeah, makes sense. So this brings me to an idea, like if you talk to a 1500th century person and talk about democracy as a form of government, maybe he'll just laugh at us and say people by a government by people, someone elected by us will be ruling, will seem like a foolish idea to him.
Exactly.
And yeah, we can surely relate finance to that, democratizing finance. So my next question, as you said, a lot of bad loans and credit system is quite messed up, and a lot of corruption happening there. But when I come when I think of DeFi giving loans to people, how do they verify whether loans can be given to a person or not? Say I am Pranjal, I want to take a loan from a DeFi system. How does this system will actually evaluate, assess? Because there's a lot of physical assessment, a lot of documentation. How do you think that system can actually evolve and start working where smart contracts and DeFi protocols start giving loans rather than people taking decisions?
Amazing. So like even today, if you think about loans, let's say you go to a bank today to take a loan for your to buy a house or something like that. So you have to give some kind of collateral. Sometimes the collateral can be an asset, like maybe somehow they can, using which they can recover their money. Or sometimes the collateral can be your reputation. Like if you do not pay the loan, your reputation gets damaged, because of which you will not get into the financial inclusion. There can be like two kind of collateral, if you think from a very simple perspective. In one case, you are losing something which is more valuable than the loan itself. And the second way is like you are losing your reputation. So similarly, DeFi is right now in the first stage where all the loans are our collateralized. And since like this whole ecosystem is very digital native, you do not have to worry about whether you will be able to recover your money or not. So how loans actually happens in DeFi today is, let's say you have Ethereum. I'm hearing some voice.
Yeah, can you guys please mute everybody? Yeah, Rohit, sorry for the interruption.
Thanks. So like today, how any decentralized lending and borrowing protocol works. So let's assume I have Ethereum in my wallet and I am a long-term believer in Ethereum. Let's say I have 1 Ethereum. So how do I make use of this Ethereum? Like if I'm just keeping it idle, it's non-productive money. Just like you do not want to keep your cash in your liquid account, you want to like invest it, let's say in a fixed deposit or savings account to earn interest. So similarly, like what I can do is, okay, I am ready to, I want some liquidity. So I will put this 1 Ethereum in a smart contract as collateral. So today, let's say this one Ethereum's value is $100. So what that smart contract will enable is it will give me 60 DAI, 16 for simplicity, let's say 50 USD as a loan. Now my collateral is with them. As soon as like now, since it's all digital, like that smart contract can always read what is the current value of this Ethereum. As soon as the current value of that Ethereum I deposited, it goes below $50, I'll just like sell it automatically because it's all automated systems. So that's how like a smart contract is always making sure that the land amount, the debt is basically always lesser than the collateral I have. And using this, like whenever somebody is lending that USDC to this person, to me, basically I'm I'm borrowing the USD. So that person will be paid back from this our collateralized collateral by liquidating this position. Now, why this is possible today is because of Ethereum. Ethereum created a system on which, like, when you are writing a code, it's composable. Like anyone can use my piece of code and can build further applications on top of it. And since code, once you deploy the code, because of the immutability nature of blockchain, what immutability means is like you cannot change something once you have deployed it, once you have merged it on the blockchain. Similarly, if you have merged that code into the blockchain, you cannot change it. So that's how you are always ensured, you are guaranteed that you will not lose money as a lender.
Cool, Rohit. So before I come with my questions on the Ethereum, I have another question going back there. So, you said, collateral-based loans, but a lot of these bad loans and a lot of credit given is without collateral, based on maybe business projections, based on, certain education loans for people. How do you think that ecosystem will be enabled if I don't have any collateral but I need a collateral, to enable me to grow? What will happen to, those kinds of loans?
Yeah, so the first experiments, so this we call under collateralized loans, right? So the first experiment under the under collateralized loans is when protocols are borrowing from different protocols in blockchain. So let's say I am Uniswap, and as a Uniswap protocol, I have Uni token in my treasury. And let's say you are Aave, which is a lending and borrowing protocol. So what you are saying is, hey, Uniswap, you can take as much loan as you want. You do not have to keep collateral, but you have to keep your certain Uni token as a safe mark. So if the protocol defaults, like the whole system dies. So you can trust the protocols much more compared to like a single individual, because protocols have much higher reputation. The whole business dies. So this is where like the reputation is coming into the picture. And the second is this is where the native token of a protocol is coming into the picture. Should we say like it is foolproof? No, it is more risky compared to our collateralized loans. As a result, the rewards will also be higher. People who will be giving loan to Uniswap, they will be getting better yields compared to people who will be giving loans to our collateralized borrowers. Similarly, like this will now evolve into, let's say, individuals. Today, we cannot say like how it is going to form, but one imagination could be like when you are transacting within this decentralized financial infrastructure, like everything is getting recorded, and that's how you are developing your reputation. So today it's all about just finance. Tomorrow it can be about like, even if you are applying for a job or even if you are working for a company, there might be some kind of digital reputation, which will be driven by the behavior you have done using this wallet. So it will all be basically public, and you will not like to ruin your reputation. And like some people can say like, I can just change my wallet, but then you have to regain your reputation because a new wallet starts with 0, and you might have like spent 5 years to earn that reputation.
So can I simplify and say it like me getting NFTs for every good thing that I do in this world, and that translating into, me getting a higher credit limit?
Exactly. That's how like credit systems will be built in this system.
Great. So before we talk about more about protocols, the last question that I had is, you spoke a lot about centralized exchange holding your crypto tokens, and just like banks and financial institutions. So do you say if I'm using a centralized exchange, and if I'm if I want to be an active participant in this revolution, is using centralized against this revolution? Are they, against the whole idea of cryptocurrencies and DeFi?
I will not say so. So consider like it is going to be a journey. And again, like just like when internet started, most of the websites were like brochures. They were just sharing like what we sell. They were not actually selling on the website itself. You still needed to call. So just like that, DeFi is at the bad experience, user experience today. You still need to call to the person. So similarly, you still need to use exchange to get exposure to these decentralized financial assets. But over time, people will have more and more of their wealth in this new financial ecosystem. And as a result, there will be less and less use cases of centralized platforms. Having said that, that might not mean that the centralized platforms will play zero roles. So its role might change. So for an example, today, the most crucial part is centralized, which is like storing the money, storing the database. In future, like this basic part can be decentralized, but the user experience can be centralized. So like you have built, let's say, Uniswap on the decentralized layer, but there can be any front-end developer or any company who can create a UI, who can create the application using that. So what does that mean is like they are having the relationship with the user, but at the same time, they do not have control of the funds. So that's the kind of role these centralized platforms might play.
Cool. So Rohit, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. How centralized exchanges can bring in adoption, and then people can finally start moving into the DeFi protocols, because it's complicated. Me being one of the people in the industries, I still find DeFi protocols still very complicated to use and adopt. So as you said, Ethereum being the base of the creating a lot of DeFi protocols, providing you a platform to write more and more smart contracts, deploying them, and easily create blockchain application. Can I say you suggesting I should buy Ethereum over Bitcoin?
So this is not financial advice, but I'll say like from the risk stack, Ethereum and Bitcoin are the least risky assets.
But Ethereum or Bitcoin?
So I am personally more of an Ethereum person, because from modeling perspective, Bitcoin represents, let's say, a store of value kind of a network, and also like it's the idealism, if I say so. But Ethereum represents an economy. Like you can create whole different ecosystem around it. You cannot create an ecosystem on top of Bitcoin. As a result, like from market cap perspective, the potential for Ethereum is like bigger than whole global economy combined.
Cool. So we'll quickly take another question, not very directly related to DeFi. One of our users asked, and I'm also curious, that a lot of developers are moving away from the Ethereum platform as seen as or shown, and moving to platforms like Solana, which promise to be scalable. The fees, the network and gas fees on these protocols Ethereum protocol has risen to a level which is, doesn't make it adoptable. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, so let's come back to the same thing, like what we were talking about. Most valuable things will be more decentralized. So like someone who has, and basically like it will be more secured in another way. So someone who has $1 million in their account, more like almost 95 or 99% of the time, they will like to store it on Ethereum than Solana. Why? Because Ethereum is more decentralized compared to Solana. Ethereum is more secure compared to Solana. But someone who holds $1,000, for them, it might not make sense to store their wealth on Ethereum because of the transaction costs they have to pay. So they might basically use something like Solana. So like you can basically plot the same way. The higher the value, it will be into the more decentralized ecosystem. The lesser the value, it will be into the more scalable systems.
Cool. So putting that into a simpler language is, Elon Musk making transactions on Ethereum and Pranjal doing transactions on Solana, right?
Exactly. And even in Solana, like this opens up a completely whole like vast ecosystem of a multi-chain ecosystem, in which now we have different layer ones. So what is layer one? Which is like the building block. Ethereum is a layer one. Solana is a layer one. Like they are not built on top of something. Avalanche is a layer one. So even in this, now we are seeing layer twos, like something which is using Ethereum as the base layer and building on top of it. Like it's another chain which is using Ethereum as settlement layer. So there is going, like, it is still need to be seen how layer two versus different layer ones will play out, which will be more secure, which will be more scalable.
Yeah, makes sense. These layers, making it more adoptable and scalable. So something when we're talking about adoption and scalability, we see a lot of regulation coming in crypto. Russia recently announcing about Bitcoin, India giving taxations, US already have regulations, and major countries working on CBDC. But the question is, will these countries and these large financial institutions ever allow DeFi to grow and survive? See, because there has to be a lot of resistance. Me being the government, if I am the government of the country, I like to manage the finance, because that's what governs everything else in the world. That's how wars happen. That's how the businesses grow, economies drive. That's why people live day to day, and that's what I will always want to control. How do you see DeFi coming in? What's the path how's the journey looks to you?
Yeah, I think it's a completely logical question. Like, if you will give any government this option that, let's say, if they can go back 10 years back and they have the power to ban Bitcoin, I am pretty much sure every one of them will too. So the only reason they are not doing it today is because they cannot. And philosophically, you can think about the same way. Like every dictator, if you will give them an option, like, would you want to implement democracy? Like they will not. But that does not mean it will not happen. Ultimately, like people win, like better models. So when we think about these models, we think from an individual perspective. But I think like humans are ultimately social animals. Like our power is into coordination. Whatever makes us efficient in coordination, we will basically evolve towards that kind of a civilization, or that kind of a species, like biological evolution, however you want to call it. So from that perspective, I think like governments can fight it, but it is still going to be short term. Like they cannot basically completely eliminate it, and it is going to ultimately win.
So does it looks like a civil war or a freedom fight happening sometime?
I do not think so personally. Like I think today we are in a democracy. Like we are basically naturally evolving into that kind of a civilization where all of us wants to basically coordinate with each other. Like if you read throughout the history, power has been decentralized. Like today, even the Prime Minister of India cannot just decide, hey, I want to go with the power, I want to go on a war with Pakistan or anything like that. Like the decision making is becoming more decentralized, and it will keep becoming more and more decentralized.
Makes sense. So, Rohit, me being an amateur, a lot of our participants could be. Where do I start from? I want to start my DeFi journey, interact with DeFi protocols. Where do I go? What I do login on? What I do there? Can you help?
So I think like everyone should install MetaMask, which is the most popular wallet today. Unfortunately, it's not the best experience. So you have to go through, like, survive the first experience. Once you survive your first experience, it just becomes suddenly like very easy. Because imagine like on each single financial application, you can just connect the same account, connect wallet. You do not have to do KYC again and again. You do not have to create account again and again at every website. So suddenly user experience become much simpler, but that first time use might be very complex. So start with MetaMask. You can always try with testnet if you do not want to play with real money. All wallets provide you a test kind of an experience. Just look, Google it up, like how to use a testnet on MetaMask, and you will be able to find it. Try different applications. I think people definitely should try Uniswap or even JediSwap, which is what I'm building currently, which is a decentralized exchange. which does not charge any gas fees like Ethereum. It is completely like scalable, but it is still on testnet because it is on a developing layer 2 ecosystem. So try these applications, JediSwap, Uniswap, Aave. You can try it on testnet so that you do not, if you do not want to play with the real money. That is going to be the first experience like anyone can go through.
Great, great. So for all our participants, what we'll do is I'll take more inputs from Rohit, send you some links, videos, so you could start your journey on DeFi, install MetaMask and do things around if you're interested. We'll surely drop an email with details. So Rohit, before I go, on JediSwap, very interested to talk about that. What are your favorite projects in the DeFi space, and what are they doing if you talk in brief? Like,
I think number one, which always comes to mind, is Uniswap. And you can think about Uniswap like an artistic creation, like somebody created a machine and now it does not even matter like who created that machine. It's like self-sustaining, it's self-generating. And it enabled it basically disrupted it is going to disrupt all the markets like New York Stock Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, any exchange in the world. So it's a decentralized exchange. I think it's by far on top of my list. Then one of my favorite protocol is Curve Finance. So Curve Finance is also an exchange. The thing I like about Curve Finance is like they are the protocol who solved incentive alignment. So like whenever we are talking about all these crypto protocols, ultimately they all are network. For a network, like for an example, in an exchange, the network is between buyer and seller. Whenever you are creating a network, you need network participants. So best way to create networks is incentivizing the network participants. In today's Web2 world, we incentivize a network by giving them, let's say, extra discount or like lower prices. Like for an example, for a ride sharing kind of a network, Uber or Ola will give huge incentives to the driver in the earlier days. And then they will keep removing those incentives so that like more drivers come into the picture. As more drivers comes in, more riders comes in, and like that's how the networks get built. So Curve basically solved this using the crypto economics by giving tokens to these people in a systematic way. That's why I love Curve Finance. Then obviously I love Compound Finance and Aave protocol. Both of them are decentralized lending and borrowing protocol. Another amazing innovation. I like MakerDAO, which basically like one of the missing piece in the whole crypto space was all the cryptocurrencies were volatile. So people were not able to use like trade in a very amazing way, like just how they do it on Coinbase or any centralized exchange. So MakerDAO created DAI, which is a decentralized stable coin. Since it comes on the blockchain, again, like you can play around and build applications on top of it. So yeah, these are like a few of my favorite protocols. Then like there is a huge list of DYDX, there are derivatives protocols, there are index protocols and all of that.
Cool. I was noting them down and, just go and buy these tokens. So for everyone, we have a coin set called DeFi coin set on Mudrex platform where all these tokens are available. You can just click, invest in that and invest in the future of finance. So, coming to, JediSwap, what is JediSwap? By the way, the name is really, really cool. A Star Wars fan. So how did you come up with this? What's the idea? What are you guys working on?
Yeah.
And so also, how do I contribute?
So like JediSwap is basically a decentralized exchange, just like Uniswap. The only difference is like so Mesh Finance, like what is Mesh Finance? Mesh Finance is a group of people who want to bring decentralized finance to the rest of the world. The biggest challenge to achieve that mission is decentralized finance is expensive. Like most of the applications require gas fees on Ethereum, or you have to use different chains, which might be more centralized, which again breaks the ethos of decentralization. So we are building JediSwap on a layer 2 ecosystem, which uses Ethereum as the decentralized secure layer. And because of that, we can basically do almost gas-less transactions. So on JediSwap, you do not have to pay hundreds of dollars in gas fees to make a trade. And how JediSwap function is, it's a decentralized community, just like Bitcoin was created by open source contributors. JediSwap is also created by open source contributors. So anyone can come, like just find JediSwap on Twitter, JEDISWAP. And from there, you can see the link to Discord, which is where like you can join and start contributing.
Do I get something for contributing?
Yeah. So just like in a company, you give equity to founders or early employees. Here you get tokens. JediSwap will launch a token at some point of time, and these contributors will earn tokens.
So, by the way, whenever I think of these protocols and talking about contributors, it seems a lot of tech. And honestly, I don't know to write a single line of code. I can't. So tried, but can't. So can people still contribute in these systems, even if they don't know coding or engineering?
Absolutely. Like, so this opens up another whole dimension called DAOs, decentralized autonomous organization. So just like today's organizations are hierarchical. It starts with a founder or a office or a CEO, and then it starts breaking down into executives, managers, and then the employees. We are creating bottom-up kind of organization where it starts with the community, what community wants, and then it starts with the builder, and then it goes to the to the decision-making tree. So just like in a company, you need designer, you need people who can help with growth, marketing, managing stuff. Same thing basically applies to decentralized organizations as well. So whatever skills you have, the benefit is like here you do not have to interview. Here you do not have to commit 8 hours of your day. Like if you want to contribute 10 minutes a day, you can do that. And at the same time, you can basically contribute to 5 different projects at the same time. Let's say you have an amazing skill in analytics. Now you do not have to commit to one single organization and basically be frustrated, work for 8 hours a day. You can basically capitalize your skills in a much more efficient way using DAOs.
Thanks. I'll do. And I think people, those who are interested, I see some on chat, will share the Discord link of JediSwap. I think Rohit will provide us that. And you guys can join their Discord community, talk there, start contributing whatever they require, and earn some Jedi tokens. Will these be LP tokens?
No, this will be native Jedi token, just like there is uni token we have in our coin set. Cool. So hopefully the JediSwap token will also be part of coin set.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Rohit. I think it was an amazing conversation with you, helping our participants and helping me know a lot more about the DeFi space. Any ending remarks that you'd like to, end this talk on DeFi?
Yeah, I mean, like it's a frontier. Consider this like this is an evolving space. There are going to be huge risks. So always be cautious. Number one, of hacks, of scams, and also of different tokens. You will see a lot of tokens talking a lot of big things, which doesn't go into the substance. So always research a lot. Like since you are on the frontier, the rewards are going to be high, but at the same time, the risk can also be high. So just like keep focusing on research, keep basically investing in the credible projects instead of like trying to find the next Bitcoin or like next 1000x opportunity.
Sure. Thanks, Rohit. Thanks, Rohit, for joining in today to talk about DeFi space. I see a lot of people have questions about Mudrex, so Mudrex team will stay back and Apuva will be there to answer all your questions. And thanks a lot, Rohit, for joining us.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.